when you're a part of an overall movement, or, you know, when I put movement in quotes, you have to follow a company line. All right. Like, for example, Martin Luther King was the spokesperson for the civil rights movement, but he had handlers, right? A. Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, Stanley Levinson, right? Stanley Levinson, who I've already mentioned, the Caucasian Jew, who was the Svengali for Bayard Rustin, and who also helped Martin Luther King craft the I Have a Dream speech. Now, Stanley Levinson reported to a KGB operative who was posing as a shipping magnate named Isidore Needleman. All right. So once again, this is why people like J. Edgar Hoover knew that that Martin Luther King, not only was he a communist, but that he was being used as a pawn. OK, the Soviets were using a lot of these communist movements to destabilize America. Now, and they had been doing it from the mid 1910s. OK, into the 1920s.
And Ray said in his video that he posted, until you speak for yourself and demand what you want to do in life, it's totally on you, as in it's your fault that you're not speaking up. And I know John Wooten's biggest frustration, Jim Brown's frustration, was they couldn't get Colin to come sit with them and look them in the eye and say, I do want to get back on the football field.
Well, no, they were frustrated that they couldn't get Kaepernick to come in and sit with them, and they could pick his brain and find out who it was that he was reporting to. Because I believe that Jim Brown is smart enough to know that Colin Kaepernick is reporting to someone. He's not just he's not making his own decisions. Jim Brown knows that. He understands that. He knows how the game works. Jim Brown is operating on the upper levels of this thing, and he knows that Colin Kaepernick has people that he is reporting to, and that, you know, whenever somebody disappears off the radar like that, it's because he's been told to do so. All right. This person, Ness Nitty, I'm telling you guys right now, this person is the one pulling his strings, and she's getting her strings pulled by some force or some faction. I'll leave it at that. But we all know the same names. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement, they're run by George Soros. So we know, by the way, George Soros has had his name associated with and mentioned with what's that term again for a lot of the affluent, the elite, billionaires, Luciferians who they chase around little children through the woods and shoot them and chop off their genitalia and hold them up. I believe it's called The Great Game, something along that line. You can read about it in the Kathy O'Brien book, Transformation of America. All right, I recommend that book for a lot of you brothers who are interested in knowing about the background of the MK Ultra program and how deep and pervasive it is. All right, you can check that out for yourself. You know,
they weren't sure about this, and to this day, to this moment, they were not sure about this. But then I thought Ray really stepped out of bounds, because he says then from his video, people need to stop encouraging you, Colin Kaepernick, to be caught up in some of this nonsense. Nonsense? When I heard that word, I just cringed, because you can't dismiss what Colin Kaepernick has been doing as nonsense.
Now, and you see, Skip Bayless, and I mentioned this already, by his own admission, he's called by the NFL owners a communist. Why did they call him that? Because it's normal communist tactics to try to tell so-called, these so-called indigenous people or so-called people of color how they should be thinking about things. How dare you disagree with Colin Kaepernick? Skip Bayless is a Caucasian man. Who is he to chime in and tell Ray Lewis anything about what he thinks? Ray Lewis is somebody who believes that economics is the solution. To me, that's no less valid than Colin Kaepernick's viewpoint. I'm on record as stating that the real solution is the cultural aspect. You have to cure the people culturally in order to establish economics. All right. Once you have a strong culture, then you have economics. Once you have economics, then you have political power, because now you have politicians that you put in place to be servants for your community. That's how it goes. Right. You're supposed to have these things on your own. You're supposed to have your own hospitals and your own police force, things of that nature, so you don't have to worry about being profiled. Our people really just want the love and the affection of the Caucasian. That's what all these, that's what all these red herrings and all this bullshit is about.
Right. Nonsense.
Really?
Is just
And then he went into the battles you've been fighting, brother. People way before us have been fighting for many, many years.
Yes, and I think when he said that, he wasn't being dismissive. I think that he was alluding to Jim Brown. Jim Brown, the person who has dispatched him on the mission, the fruitless mission that Ray Lewis was dispatched on, and ended up making an ass of himself.
Well, that doesn't mean Colin hasn't been fighting it at least as successfully as anybody ever has. He became the voice and the face of a crucial movement in this country that I still believe, and I can't quantify this, but I believe it's had national impact.
In what way? What laws have been passed to change anything that he's been talking about? If it's had national impact, it's only because it's given you some bullshit to talk about for the last year whenever you had nothing else to talk about. All right, it's what's known as a media narrative. And I've explained this before. These people operate in what they call news cycles. This is why you'll normally see them talk about something racially related around late July through August, because that is normally when you have the least amount of things to talk about nationally, particularly in the sports world. Pay very close attention. Around any time from mid-July throughout August, they will normally have some type of racial incident or racial topic for them to talk about.
It has opened some white eyes and ears and hearts to the issue at hand. White cops killing unarmed black men, brutalizing, police brutality. We're talking about Michael Bennett.
Yep.
Falling right into the same category, ironically. And for Ray to say that, it just dismisses the whole movement. But his point was, you need to get back to our sanctuary on the football field. If you do nothing else, young man, just let your play on the football field do your talking for you. Well, okay, we get that, but don't discount all the impact that he had, and you can do both. Is Colin ready to go back on the football field? Your indication is that he is.
Yeah, it's hard. See, the problem that I think people are having is that Ray says he was speaking up so pro-Cap behind closed doors, yet speaking seemingly against him publicly.
No, he never spoke against him publicly. It's just that you guys act like emotional bitches whenever somebody says anything not complimentary about the person that you seem to hold in such high regard, Colin Kaepernick, right? Your Christ figure, your savior, your redeemer. So whenever anybody speaks even borderline critically about his approach, supposedly he's going against Kaepernick. Ray Lewis has explicitly stated that he's not against Kaepernick. He just disagrees with his method. He doesn't have to agree with his method, dude. All right. The reason why you're for it is because, Shannon Sharp, you also are another low self-esteem having black man, much like Martin Luther King, who views value as being able to appropriate a white woman. As I've already stated, Martin Luther King really wanted to marry a Caucasian woman, just like Shannon Sharp does. All right. These guys look at the Caucasian man's woman as a high prize. All right. That's how they operate. They get on TV and talk all this stuff about unity and what America promised them. When they say what America promised them, they're really talking about access to the Caucasian woman. This is why I laugh at a lot of you internet revolutionaries online. You guys always want to talk about how this person deserved to have this bad thing happen to him because they were looking at a white woman and you know, Bakari Henderson, the reason why he got killed over on that Greek island, he was hanging out with white people. But then you'll talk about how great Shannon Sharp is. Right? Shannon Sharp is a confused dude. Ray Lewis has the right to his opinion. As I said, I have no dog in the race. Ray Lewis to me is a pawn, but he has the right to be a pawn. Colin Kaepernick is a pawn too.
You know, he says he should speak up and tell people what he wants to do, but in the same breath, he says, don't let everyone know what you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean,
no, sir. When he says speak up and let everyone know what you want to do, he's talking about playing football. When he says don't let everyone know what you're doing, he's talking about in regards to the so-called black community. All right? That's what he was talking about. In Ray Lewis's opinion, you can get more done off camera than on camera. Ray Lewis, to me, honestly believes that Colin Kaepernick is doing a lot of this for show. It's not that difficult to figure out, bruh. Shannon, you're a little smarter than that, so I believe that maybe you're playing games on TV.
So,
and really, you could have found all this out if you would have just called him. So maybe you and Ray are not quite as close as you try to act like you are. Or maybe this storyline is separating you guys, which is a shame.
So, am I supposed to tell you what I'm doing, or am I not supposed to tell you what I'm doing?
Also, I think part of this is this whole
call for him to speak is that they want him to beg for a job. This is what people
I don't
want. I don't know.
I think
No, they don't. They don't want him to beg for a job. They just want to know whether or not his focus is on football or whether it's on activism. And they really want to know who's pulling his strings. That's what they want to know, dude. I mean, this shit is so long and drawn out. It's very, very obvious that Colin Kaepernick is being given instructions. All right? They want to know who's pulling his strings. Jim Brown wants to know what's going on so that he can take control over Colin and take credit for Colin's redemption. He sent out Ray Lewis as a middleman. Ray Lewis got intercepted by Ness Nitty. That's all that happened.
I think it's become too much of you're speaking for Kaepernick.
You see that? You see what Joy did there? She said, "You're speaking for Kaepernick." You see what she pointed to? Let me rewind it.
You're speaking for
for a job. This is what people want.
I don't know. I think it's become too much of you're speaking for Kaepernick.
Now notice when she said "you're speaking for Kaepernick," she pointed directly at Shannon and looked directly at him. Now watch what she's going to say next.
You're speaking for Kaepernick. We're all fighting amongst each other.
Right. Now when she said "you're speaking for Kaepernick," she fully extended her right arm to Shannon and looked directly at him. Then when she said "you're speaking for Kaepernick" with her left hand, she kind of just half-heartedly pointed in Skip Bayless's general direction and would not even look directly at him. So right now, Joy Taylor's attitude is even she's starting to get a little bit suspicious about why Colin Kaepernick is scared to come out and speak whatever his stance is. I think even she's getting tired of Shannon Sharpe acting as a buffer for Colin Kaepernick. Right? Shannon is enjoying and you come across this a lot in life. And I know this from definite experience. Sometimes people, they get off on knowing that they are the only mediator or the only intermediary between you and somebody that you need to get information from. So they know that once you're able to get directly to that person, they're no longer going to be as necessary. So they get off on that. Oh, well, let me tell you what so-and-so told me because I'm going to forward the information to you. No, I'd rather get the information directly from the source because I don't trust your ability to communicate properly. All right? That's just me personally, brothers. That's how I roll. I don't trust people's ability to communicate somebody else's message. I like to get it directly from the source if possible. All right? When it comes to carnal information. I don't need to get it from you because I don't know what your end game might be. You might be, for lack of a better term, a hating ass nigga who's trying to stop me from getting the information that I really need. I need to speak directly to the person. Thank you. All right. Shannon likes his little station here as Colin Kaepernick's mouthpiece. Even Joy Taylor's starting to see that, it's time for this dude to be a man. Stop having all these little silly bitches, both men and women, speak for you.
It comes to a point where eventually Kaepernick needs to come out and say anything, anything.
But I'm saying,
it's
you don't think he wants to play football?
It's not begging for a job.
They say, oh, well,
what did Pete Carroll say? Pete Carroll said
the bottom line is that these NFL owners are being cowards and they're wrapping themselves and blanketing themselves in any excuses they can.
No, they're not being cowards. They're just being businessmen. That's why they're billionaires. They don't have to be cowards. They don't have to be worried about any repercussions. Believe me, they can get on TV and say, we don't want to sign Kaepernick because we're against his protests, and none of the fans are going to care. All right? None of the football fans are going to stop watching football because Jerry Jones or Bob Kraft or the Rooneys or whoever said we just prefer to stay away from Kaepernick because we don't like his method of protest. Not one person is going to stop watching the teams play. So, no, they're not cowards.
And they're using her tweet as an excuse for why they're not going to sign him. When everyone knows it's really just about the protest, and they're scared because they're reacting to faux outrage that fans are going to abandon the NFL, only the biggest sport in our country that occupies 4 days of our lives every week.
You just explained why they have no reason to be scared. So why would they be scared? All right, that's just shit that people say to make themselves feel better about their own stance. All right. You know how people sometimes will tell you, oh, well, you're just not doing that. Maybe you're scared. Why are they saying that? Because they're trying to provoke you to say something or do something. No, that her philosophy or her viewpoint makes absolutely no sense. The owners have nothing to be scared about in regards to saying why they won't sign Kaepernick. As a matter of fact, they really don't have to say shit. Right, which is the reason why most of them have not said anything. Steve Bisciotti was actually considering signing Kaepernick, which is why he wanted to take the temperature of the fan base All right. Baltimore is a city right now that it has a lot of racial, they have a lot of racial narratives going on there with the Freddie Gray incident and a lot of these other, the police body cam issues with the police planting evidence, things of that nature. So that's the reason why Bashotti is being very cautious. So that's even more reason why your dumbass woman should have stayed in her place. Your job is to spin records, right? That's your only job. You're an Arab woman, right? So why are you trying to throw around terms like house nigga and or basically trying to imply that somebody is a house nigga or the character from Django? No, that's for so-called black people to do. It's bad enough when most of these niggas do it out of context. So for somebody of another race to do it, that basically people know how to wind black people up. All right. And that's the problem with a lot of you so-called black people. You let everybody know what makes you tick. So now they know how to wind your clock.
And for some reason, they're going to all of a sudden stop watching the NFL because Colin Kaepernick, who is better than most of the backup quarterbacks at best, and several of the starting quarterbacks in this league.
I would say that he's probably better than maybe 5 or 6 starting quarterbacks. Okay. As far as the backups are concerned, I don't know. I would have to go through a list of the backups. But, when you're talking about bringing in a backup like a Colin Kaepernick, it becomes a matter of, is it worth it?
So the bottom line is someone needs to stand up and be bold and be courageous, but they're not going to do that because they're prisoners of their cowardice.
Yeah, then you're talking about Kaepernick more than you're talking about the owners, right? So if he's not going to be bold and courageous and speak his viewpoints and speak his stance, then he's the coward.
I think we all can agree on this, though. I wish Nessa would have apologized. It's okay. It's okay to say, I'm sorry.
It's okay to admit that you're wrong.
But this was the final cover. This tweet was the final cover for the Ravens. They can say, see, now
they can wrap themselves, and that's why it happened.
Ness Nitty is not going to apologize. It's against her brand as a so-called liberated woman. Liberated women, for the most part, when I say liberated, I mean so-called liberal, westernized women. They don't apologize. They just live with it. They go to their psychotherapist and they get a prescription for antidepressants. That's how they solve their problems. All right. But anyway. All right. So now we have the roundtable at Speak for Yourself with a lot of the internet revolutionaries' favorite sports anchor, Jason Whitlock. Let's see what they have to say about the Ray Lewis, Ness Nitty situation.
All right. We start with a revelation with Colin Kaepernick. According to our FS1 colleague and former Baltimore Raven Ray Lewis, the Ravens were close to signing Kaepernick, but then backed off after his girlfriend Nessa tweeted a photo comparing Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti to the white slave owner played by Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained, and Ray Lewis to the slave character Steven in Django. On Showtime's Inside the NFL, Lewis recapped what happened.
When me and Steve Bisciotti was talking, this is what we're talking about, Judy. We're talking about giving this kid an opportunity to get back in the National Football League. Look, this is what I wanted to share with people. I have been fighting for this kid behind the table like nobody has. Nobody had this kid a job in the National Football League. I can raise my hand and say I did.
I can raise my hand and say I did. No, brother, what you did was you allow yourself to be pawned out. All right? Ray Lewis is like that secret agent who got he got his cover blown. And now all of a sudden he has to act like he don't know why he was there. He got to make up a story. But, in all honesty, I believe that Jim Brown just sent Ray Lewis out there and said, Ray, go try to get Cap a job with the Ravens. And once he comes in, we'll handle the rest. All right. They were trying to set Kaepernick up in more ways than one. Not just with a job, but, trying to find out who his handlers are.
I've never been against Colin Kaepernick. But I am against the way he done it. Then his girl goes out and puts out this racist gesture and doesn't know.
To be clear, whose girl? Whose lady?
Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. That she doesn't know. We're in the back office about to try to get this guy to sign. Steve Bisciotti said himself, how can you crucify Ray Lewis when Ray Lewis is the one calling for Colin Kaepernick?
All right, Cowherd, what do you think has harmed Kaepernick the most? The national anthem protest or all the social media hubbub around it?
Well, I actually think the social media over time has, because I think what's happened is the only team Cap's on now is Team Twitter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Shannon Sharper's on that team too. Those are the people that they're trying to impress. All right. When they go out there, when they talk about how Kaepernick has given away $1 million, the reason why Kaepernick gave away all that money was because the media, the mainstream media, the mass media, said that, okay, well, is all he going to do is get on one knee? When is he going to actually spend his money or put his money where his mouth is? And he felt like he had to spend all that money to show the media that he was putting his money where his mouth was. This is how these people allow themselves to be manipulated. And now they join the, the army of internet revolutionaries, the people who type coon for everything and who don't know any real history, have no idea of what's going on around them. Scared to bust a grape in a fruit fight, and always want to pass around internet petitions. All right. That's what they're really about. When you ask them, if our people are so oppressed, when are we going to have our own? When are we going to do for our own? Oh, well, it's not really about that. It's really just about, unifying and, how come we just can't get equality? Right. You watch how quick these niggas change up when you ask them real questions. They're a bunch of fucking phonies.
Because he's not talking football, he's not playing football. So right now in the last 6 months, anybody that didn't like Kaepernick or didn't agree with him, he has reinforced their side, which is, he's not really into football. May not be true. But if you believe that and you are anti-Kaepernick, he sort of reinforced that Instagram's politics and Twitter is politics. And there's no football tweets, there's no football interest. It may not be true, but he's reinforced the belief that he's not all in on football.
Yeah, I think there are plenty of guys in the NFL who protested during the national anthem last year. So I don't think it's the national anthem protest.
Of course it's not. It has little to do with the national anthem protest. It has to do with Colin Kaepernick's mindset, as well as the fact that he is expected to be the figurehead of an organization as the quarterback. And that's totally different from somebody who is a defensive lineman or a defensive plays in the defensive backfield, getting on one knee. Your job is not to lead the team. Your job is to play your position. All right? It's just totally different.
The protest, I think it's social media. And I think what Ray Lewis is talking about is the prime example of what you risk by, even when you're trying to do the right thing. The Baltimore Ravens, in a serious discussion trying to sign Colin Kaepernick, and Kaepernick's girlfriend and social media have painted them as racist. Of
course. That's why I call them the pro-black mafia. All right. Some of them got mad in my comments. How could you say pro-black mafia? It's very simple. The mafia, with their mentality is it's their way or the highway. That's how most of these internet pro-blacks are. Right? You either go their way or you're a coon and you're this and you're that. That's how they operate, because they're very, very simple-minded. Right? A lot of ants trying to be lions. That's what they are.
Kaepernick has ascended to this very special place in the society where he's almost like a religious figure.
Absolutely. I said the same thing. He's become a martyr figure for a lot of these niggas, man. That's hilarious to me. That it shows you how easy it is for you to create a cult of personality. This is why I make videos telling brothers, look, I don't want you brothers to talk about how you fans of mine. All right, that's not why I make videos. That's not why I make videos. I'm not looking for fans. All right? I make videos so that you brothers can be aware of what's going on around you. All right? It's very, very dangerous. People are very impressionable, especially when you have strong thoughts and you can back them up. It's very easy to get people to quote unquote follow you. I'm not looking for followers. The Most High wants you brothers to be, to have a ruling class mentality. That is your job. All right? That is your job. When you call yourself lords and gods and kings, that means that you are thinking on a high level from a three-dimensional perspective. Okay? Not running around trying to be fans of another man. These dudes out here, a lot of these pro-blacks, they have put Colin Kaepernick up in a martyr, this is why I call him like the Wizard of Oz. All right? The Wizard of Oz ruled according to mystique, not according to reality. When they finally found his ass, he was just a little scared man. And that's all, in my opinion, that's all Colin Kaepernick is. It is what it is.
And Twitter and the rest of the world and all his friends are committed to, if anybody says anything off note that we disagree with about Colin Kaepernick, we are going to trash you. We're going to assassinate your character.
Racist.
You're racist. And so here's Steve Bisciotti and Ray Lewis, white dude and a black dude, trying to create a job for Kaepernick, and boom, they get hit with the Twitter lynch mob, and now they're sellouts, Uncle Toms, and or racists.
Oh, Twitter lynch mob. I like that too. But, you know, since you made that up, I'll let you keep that one. I like pro-black mafia.
Well, first of all, the girlfriend should have stayed out of it.
Let them know, Eric. Eric started just like one of them old school cats. You can't control your bitch, man. I'm gonna rewind that. He put girlfriend in quotes. Maybe he knows a little something.
If it's mama, like,
Sellouts, Uncle Toms, and or racists.
well, first of all, the girlfriend should have stayed out of it. If it's mama, like, okay, mama, mama, please, just hold it down, mama.
I agree. You know, you could tolerate it more, you know, crazy comment from your mom, because at least you know your mom is with you for life. You know, a lot of these bitches, they just, you know, they try to act all zealous. Remember back in the day when Nas and Khalees were together, Khalees tried to act like she was this big ride or die chick. She was running around. When Nas was about to drop the nigga album, she had a jacket on with the word nigga on the back, and she was trying to act like they was Bonnie and Clyde and all this shit, and all of a sudden she hated the man with a passion. All right? That's why I tell you, brothers, you don't put your spirit into no damn woman. You put your spirit into the Most High, right? You have a woman, according to her conduct, you treat her with love, respect, and honor. But please understand, you know, these broads are like the weather. They could be here today and gone tomorrow, totally different. Okay? So you put your spirit in the Most High. I don't want to see you dudes eating out of garbage cans talking to yourself.
But the girlfriend should have stayed out of it. I'm going to ask you guys this question. If Colin Kaepernick if you could look into a crystal ball and say, okay, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. If you do this protest, A, you will most definitely get a lot of attention, but you will never, ever play football again. Never. Not maybe, not my for sure, but never play football again. Do you think he would do it all over again?
I do, because I think from the moment he lost his job to Blaine Gabbert, he was done with football.
I agree. I completely agree. And once again, this is why I've already mentioned, this dude had 1 foot out of the NFL until that protest. Yeah, 1 foot out. And this was even in Harbaugh's last year, right? His first handler, at least his first handler in the NFL. He had 1 foot out the door.
I think he thinks he was treated unfairly in San Francisco about the football stuff, and he sat down mostly over that, and then when asked, you can't be honest, and so he says Black Lives Matters. But yeah, I think Colin Kaepernick's been done with football. I really don't think he's that interested in football.
I'd have to marinate on it, but my belief is if you love something, you're incapable of not showing it.
Why would he want a job if you don't love it?
What I'm saying is, if you love something, I would know he loves football.
Yeah.
I know Brady does. He doesn't drink a beer during the season. I am questioning Kaepernick's love for the game. And by the way, you guys both played. Not everybody loves football that plays football.
No.
So it's a good question. I don't have an answer, but I tend to lean toward Whitlock.
I say no, because I don't think that he ever believed for 1 second that this thing would balloon in the way that it has.
I don't think that he thought that far. I think that he was thinking emotionally. And, you know, once again, when you think emotionally, you're not thinking about the ramifications of your actions. You're just thinking about immediate satisfaction. And I think that it was immediately satisfying to Kaepernick to sit down on the bench or to subsequently get down on one knee. I think that it felt good to get all this notoriety at first, of course, at the behest of his handlers. It felt good to be the recipient of all these accolades at first, and then the backlash happened, and then, you know, of course, he was going to have to deal with the repercussions of his actions. But I don't think the answer is yes or no, because you have to actually be a three-dimensional thinker to even consider the results of your actions. Emotional dudes like Kaepernick, they're like chicks. They don't really think about what they do before they do it. They just do it. All right? They do it, and then whatever happens, they deal with it later on. So I don't even think that a question like that is applicable to Kaepernick.
and he can't control it.
There you go.
And because he can't control it, do you step back and look like a hypocrite, or do you toe the line and stand?
Well, he already stepped back. He already said he was going to stand for the national anthem this season. So he already stepped back. So that's already his way of saying, of showing that, you know what, I made a mistake. I really should not have done that. Or maybe his handlers told him, look, this is phase 2. You're going to stand this season, and we're going to have something else planned for you. We're going to shift a lot of the onus towards our other asset, Michael Bennett. Who knows?
Stand by what you believe. He's already said that I'm not going to protest. So to answer the question, the social media is the piece that's damaging him right now.
Yes, including people like you, who have been unfailingly supportive of him, as opposed to analyzing things objectively like you're supposed to do.
And listen, I don't believe that his girlfriend formulated this tweet and said, Colin, do you approve before I push send? She did it on her own.
Of course she did. She doesn't have to answer to him. She is his handler. He has to answer to her. The real question is, after she sent it out, did he say anything to her about it, or did he just let it slide?
Okay. Maybe that's his fault because he didn't control the situation.
Right.
Okay. But so I don't really buy into 100% what Ray is saying, because at the end of the day, if the Ravens really wanted to sign him, okay, they could have flew him in, had a discussion about it, talked about how much he knew about the tweet, talk about the tweet. Steve Bisciotti could have asked him the question, do you want to play football? Okay, because Colin Kaepernick ain't going to call a press conference and tell the world what he thinks, because the media is going to spin it the way they want to spin it anyway.
Well, look, and he makes some valid points, particularly pertaining to the press conference. The mass media is going to spin his comments however they want to spin it. That's fine. But to say that, basically making the same assertion that Max Kellerman made, that the owner of the Ravens should have looked past the tweet, for a guy who basically is desperate, or is perceived as being desperate for a job, to think that tweet would have no effect and they should have flown him in anyway to find out where his mind was at. Nah, that wasn't going to fly, man. That is not realistic, not even in the least. Everyone has been in dire situations where you know that you have to toe the line to get something that you need from someone. And, basically it's like somebody who's dead broke and who's trying to get $10 from somebody. And before they get it, they're saying, you know what, you ain't shit anyway, but you should still give me the $10. No, I don't think that's going to happen.